Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean,
And I am Anthony the dog.
and we're going to talk about Good Boy, the new film by Ben Leonberg. Written by Alex Cannon and Ben Leonberg, and a real small cast. And I was super pleased to see one of the members of that cast is Larry Fessenden. So
Yes.
immediately,
Yes.
I'm already in this movie's corner. Um, we're going to go spoiler free. And then when you hear the sound of the chainsaw, we're going to get a little bit more specific. But like Anthony just said to me before we rolled tape, I don't know that you can actually spoil this movie. We're not going to talk about like the way it ends or anything like that, but we will be more specific. So just throwing it out there. I knew nothing about this film other than it was from a dog's perspective because I successfully avoided the trailer completely. I didn't read anything about it. So the poster makes it look like it might be ghosts or zombies or whatever. And it might be. We'll talk more about what it is maybe after the chainsaw. But in the meantime, Anthony, what did you think about Good Boy?
You know what, man? I got into this flick after a really, really rough day at work, and I started to nod off probably about, I'm going to say 20 minutes through. And I really fought hard for it. I was like, okay, look, this is an hour and 13. I really want to push through this because it's got a lot of hype and it's got great reviews so far. I just something about it just bored me to tears. And I guess it's just, the solitary aspect of the film, like what just in regards to settings and whatnot.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, it's a rainy environment, and that just puts me to bed. Like I could sleep through any rainy day, you know what I mean? And I think it just put me in that mood. And a couple smacks to the face, and I'm hunched forward and made sure to start paying attention. Um, but you know what? Once it started getting going, probably I'm gonna say just a little over halfway through after the midpoint, I was really paying attention, and I noticed the audience around me was as well because it looked like the audience wasn't having a good time, and I thought that they were going to be a little more lively and possibly annoying when they came in. There's a lot of younger folks, and surprisingly, everybody was very respectful and started paying attention to what the movie was becoming. And I think everybody locked in just like I did. And yeah, I ended up having a good time. I had a really good time. And it's not a perfect film. It's very, very indie, very DIY, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a while. But like I've said a thousand times on this show, if you've got a lot of heart in your film, you'll have my utmost respect. And so by the end of this film, the directors definitely did, and I had a great time with it. It gave me the willies a couple of times. It's not like an over the top extreme horror film, but I think it's just right for this season.
Hmm.
I don't think it's for everybody. It's definitely not going to be one you'd bring your kids to or anything like that. But it's and not for because it's gory and disgusting. I just don't think I think the content would go over a younger audience's head.
Yeah.
But I dug it. I really did enjoy what they put forth, and by the end, and I mean the end, I had a whole lot more respect for what was
Yeah.
going on. Definitely. But no, I dug the flick, and it's a solid thumbs up. I don't know how long it's going to be in the theaters. Maybe by the end of this coming week, it may be gone because I assume that it's going to bounce to Shutter fairly quickly, if
End of the
anything.
month, I
Yeah, so
believe.
before month's end, so you might only have this week to go check it out. It's a recommend for me. How about you? How was your viewing?
Well, so I was watching, I think this actually started last week at my theater and maybe all theaters, but all week it was just, and I was out of town last week. I was in LA with you guys. All week since I got back, it's 9:50 p.m., 9:50 only screening. And I'm like, that's just not happening. And then today, it opened and there were like five or six, and then actually when I got out, I text a friend of mine who's a dog lover. I was like, you got to see this. He's like, dude, and he's in Chicago. He's like, there's like one showing a day. I'm like, check now. And he checked, he's like, oh, there's 10 tomorrow. I'm like,
Yeah.
there you go. So I think everywhere it was like, I think this movie's had a journey, and so from what I understood, it was going to be a very, very limited, like maybe a one night or like just a Friday, Saturday release. But
Yeah.
the trailer got so many hits that the distributor rethought that, and I think it's gaining traction as it goes. And so now it's going to be wide, but I think it's only going to be, like you said, for like a week or maybe two. So I would let's just say play it safe. I'm going to say to people, this is a recommend for me as well. I think you should 100% support this movie, see it on the big screen, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I mean, other than you should just support indie horror and see it on a big screen, but I really think that people should see this on the big screen, and I think just go this week if you can go this week. There were a handful of people in my theater. I was hoping there'd be more. We hit a 750 show tonight, and I think I saw more people walk into The Strangers Part 2 as we were walking in. Good luck with that. Looks like not something I want to see at all. And man, I really liked this. I had the opposite experience of you because I started some medication this week and didn't realize this. When I got home from the theater, I said to Kirsten, I'm like, I will bet you any money if I type the name of this medication in to Google and put side effects, I'm going to see high blood pressure, hypertension, something like that, because I had a doctor's appointment today. I had high blood pressure, never have that. And before I saw this movie, I drank a very large cup of coffee and I felt like I had smoked a fucking blunt. And I mean, I I had the opposite experience because my heart was fucking racing to the point where I'm like, watching the first 30 minutes of this movie, I'm like, am I having a fucking heart attack? Like, what is going? So I was slightly
Oh,
distracted.
jeez. Yeah.
It was nuts. Like my fucking left arm was numb. I'm like, am I gonna die watching this movie? But I
Today's the
held
day.
on. I held on because I was like, well, if I'm gonna die, it's gonna be after this fucking movie because I want to
Right?
support this shit. And man, I had a big gripe about. I really like this movie, and exactly like you said, I felt like when it catches wind at some point, and it really goes. But there's something we'll talk about in the spoiler section that I'm like, I really like this, but you lose points for doing that. And then I came home, and the newest issue of Fangoria arrived this week, and there was an article about it, and it dispels
Mm.
what I thought I had interpreted. So that, and here's the other thing. If you see this this is why I think people should see it in the theater. Stay past the credits, which you know how, like Anthony said, you know how DIY indie this is? The credits are like 2 minutes long. I mean, it's so short. It's the shortest credits I've ever seen on a movie. Um, and afterwards, so Anthony had told me stay past the credits, right? So the 2 minutes of credits go by, and I'm expecting a stinger, and it's the director, and he's like, "Hey, thanks for coming out and seeing our movie on the big screen. We're going to talk about how we made it." And they do like a 10-minute vignette on how they made it, and it made me appreciate the movie so much more. Like I already appreciated it, but it really sealed the fucking deal. So that, in my opinion, is worth the price of admission alone.
Well said. I was gonna tack on to your medication segue that I was gonna do the whole Simpsons bit. Behold the ravages of age.
You have my pills. Oh, I was, man, I literally was like, okay, I know I didn't smoke dope before I came here, right? Because I felt like
I'm
it
glad you
was
survived. I'm glad you survived.
me
Yeah,
too.
but the audience, like I said, great audience reaction, and when certain things happen, like people felt for the characters, which was great, you know. And for the dog, especially because the dog is, you know, the main character, and everybody was just kind of like hooked to this animal. So by the end of the movie, everybody was in love with this creature,
Yeah, oh
this
yeah.
adorable little fur ball. But yeah, we'll get into that shortly. Um, Audience reaction was good, you said, and
Yeah,
yeah.
but there wasn't really that many people. It sounds like you probably had more people in your theater, so I'm grateful for that.
You know, it was odd because, like I said, you brought up that it was released last week, and looking at, you know, my AMC app, there were no showings. So I was like, oh, we just might not get this in my area, and I'm not willing to
Interesting.
travel to like Burbank. So um, in my part of LA anyway. So yeah, there was no showings, and then I think it was like Sunday evening I decided to go and check again, and there were three showings a day for the rest of the week, and I'm like, well, perfect. There's one at 3 in the afternoon, one at 6, and one at 7:45 or something like that. I was like, awesome, cool. I have a chance to go check this out, and yeah, it was just a solid flick, man. But like I said, going into like distribution and just its release in general was just really weird how they handled it. And I got my ticket. There were only two other seats taken, and by the time I got there, it was about half full. So I
Good.
was happy. I was happy for the turnout. But yeah, man, where are we headed with this, Sean? You want to go into
I think we're
spoiler
gonna head.
territory?
I think we're gonna go into spoilers. So to
Yeah.
just put a cap on the spoiler free section. Um, I think both Anthony and I say this is a recommend. I told you why I think you should see it on the big screen, and I feel like if you take that advice and you go see it, even if you're hesitant about going to the theater or seeing it on a big screen, I feel like you'll see this and be like, I'm really glad I saw that. I don't know if that
Definitely.
content will be available later on a disc. Maybe, I'm sure there'll be like a making of or something. But I mean, it was. I mean, the director filmed it over 4 years at his house with him, his dog, and his wife. That's it, right? And there's more people in the movie, but the basic shoot was that. And he really talks about how, like, just working with the dog, and it was really good. So go see it. And now I'm going to fire up the chainsaw, and we're going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, turn us off now. Okay. So my one misgiving with this movie that was having trouble with, that Fangoria dispelled, I caught early, or I thought I caught early on. I'm like, oh, it's a metaphor for his cancer. And you know what I don't like it. Like, so I love the fucking Babadook. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's a powerhouse. But the fact that the monster is not a monster, it's a metaphor for her grief, makes me fucking angry. Because it's like, just let it be a fucking monster. So I was like, I'm so bummed if I'm right. And by the end, I'm like, I'm right. And no, I am not right. So I don't know how you even like. I don't know what the mechanism, the haunting, the whatever. I don't know what it is. They don't explain it. That makes it even better.
So we're getting into the film, and of course I see that angle kind of coming a mile away, and I was glad to see that it ended up going in another direction, because when you get down to the basement level and you see that like entryway going to like this otherworldly place or what have you, and to see that it is a real place, like it's not a figment of anyone's imagination, the dog or anybody, and that it is like an entryway to some supernatural realm, then I was like, oh, it is something else, on possibly on top of what I'm thinking it was originally, but there is a whole other aspect of it that we're not seeing. So now it's kind of like the story of the mysterious mounds and a lot of like
Hmm.
modern, you know, modern folk horror and things like that, or is it a quasi thin place, or is it a gateway to hell or what have you? But you have this really weird uh, entryway in the basement that again appears to be real, and you kind of see that again towards the end when the sister goes to call the dog to come out of the basement. It's there.
Yeah.
And, when he's your main actor is eventually succumbs to whatever takes him to the great beyond. It just kind of was like, wow, okay, so maybe there's a little bit of that theory early on, but there is this physical thing here that tells you otherwise. So if you can elaborate a little more on what got dispelled in that Fango article, I'd love to hear real quick.
I mean, they just say,
Just paraphrase so you don't get sued.
well, they basically just say that they're talking with the director, and there is a supernatural presence.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
he doesn't elaborate. At least I didn't read the whole article. I mean, it had 2 page. For whatever. I will read the whole article. I didn't yet, but so that knowing that he's the director says that surprised me because it seems supernatural, but then so there's the whole thing where like so knowing nothing about this movie and that poster with it's kind of like the ghostly hands like surrounding the dog, right? I was thinking this was going to be a world with like some kind of a horror contagion or some. I didn't know, right? And so when it starts, I'm thinking, is this guy changing into something? What are the sister's trying to get a hold of him? He's like bleeding. The dog's freaking out, and then it cuts, and then like there's something else, and he's driving to his grandfather's place or whatever, and you see a message pop up like, did it come back? And I'm thinking like, oh, is it like a ghost or something? And then he and Larry Fessenden's the grandfather, and he's only seen in like videotapes or whatever, but there's a whole thing where like there's a cemetery on the property and the guy says to the dog, weird, right? Well, that's like my family and most of them died young. And then there's a bit with Larry Fessenden where he says like it's like his will recorded, and he says I to my granddaughter I leave my taxidermy because she's a vegan, and to my grandson I leave everything else. He's like 6 generations of the family have lived and died here. So I'm like, oh, it's cancer. He's moving back here because he knows he's going to die and he wants to stay within the family tradition. And this thing he keeps seeing, and the dog really the dog sees it. And I'm thinking, because the sister says dogs see things, they sense things other people don't, right? So I'm like, okay, so the dog is seeing his cancer as this like thing, this apparition. And then at the very end, when he's clearly dead in bed, but then his spirit is like petting the dog and he sees himself, and then the apparition gets him. I'm like, oh, so is the apparition death? Like, what is happening here? But it's not. I mean, so I don't know how he explains it. I'm actually glad he doesn't explain it. But just seeing that in the article, that like the director acknowledges there's a supernatural presence. I mean, that could be death, but I don't think that's what it is. And also, I really like the fact that Anthony, I was just thinking it was a fucking weird looking basement. Like East Coast old house, there is 6 generations, it's just got catacombs below it. But no, you are correct, sir. Like that is something else. And I just had tried to rationalize it away, and I don't know why that is. So thank you.
Yeah, I just felt that it was like a pathway to the under portion of the graveyard.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
whatever's down there, because you do get that one scene where the dogs, that there's camera's hyper focused on the dog, and you see something physical sit up in the
Yes.
basement. It
Yes.
looks like a corpse of some sort. But yeah, then of course you're like, okay, well, I I still don't know how to interpret that because we're still seeing specters kind of, floating around the house and running, through the shadows and manifesting in the dark corners. Again, nothing you haven't seen before, but when you think about what these people could do, budget wise, like yeah, of course all those little things make sense.
Yep.
And even though they're tropes that are used often in films, because of the way he used the isolated setting, it was a little more effective because you felt that confinement, that solitary confinement to the home where there's nothing else. And again, because you're in the viewpoint of the dog feels even more isolated because now his master is ill and is forcing him away to not want to give him any kind of attention. So now the dog is just really freaked out.
Yeah.
The dog. What was the dog's name again?
Indy.
Indy, the dog, who is just a love, and I would love
Yeah.
to hug this dog
Yeah.
for long periods of time because it's just an adorable dog, has a way of emoting on screen, which is revealed later that is not what you're getting.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
because there's this scene, I'm sure you remember the or the bathing scene where the dog's
Yep.
been out in the mud and his owner coughs blood all over the face, and the dog is like visually surprised. But it's weird because you're giving this dog these like personifications of like a human emotion that and we understand that dogs and animals, they have emotion, they do,
Yeah, they do.
but you're kind of you're feeling it at a more personal and human level because this dog is, the main focal point to the film. And I just it just came across so much more effective that way, and it made you pay attention to this animal who has no dialogue and is able to carry the damn film. And it's incredible what they did. This idea is very unique. I can't say I've seen this in any other
No.
film other
Nope.
than, the trope of the dog seeing something in the dark or what have you.
Yeah.
But just this expanded viewpoint of it, or this vision of what this animal is and what it's capable of and able to project on screen. It's phenomenal. Again, I've never seen anything like that. And and we can get to that now. In the making of segment, they talk, they show a scene of how, the dog looks terrified. It's focused on the camera, or the camera is focused on its face, or what have you. And just the way, they change the tonality with music or lighting or what have you. And then they flick over and they say, well, this is what really happened during that.
Yeah, right. Yes, yes. They show you the filming aspect of it. And
And he's holding up like a hat trying to make it talk. And he's
yes,
like
yeah,
trying to get the dog's attention. More or less trying to catch its more puzzled looks, so that
yeah.
that can be, altered to fit, the narrative of the film. It's just amazing how they got that to work. And I think they said, what was it? This a COVID film? They started this COVID or pre-COVID, and then it just ended up going through on their own.
So he didn't say COVID, but he said 4 years, so it was COVID.
I would imagine, yeah, during lockdown.
Yeah.
So and,
And
and
I was in the Fangoria article. He says the impetus for it was he was watching Poltergeist, and it starts with the scene of the dog running through the house, and he was like, somebody should just do a movie like that. And then there you go.
and you have that scene several times throughout the movie where you just have that white noise playing on the TV, which is eerie as shit because,
Yeah.
again, it's a trope and you know where it comes from. And what that evokes in us is invokes what that invokes in us is just that fear from that, small portion of our lives from when we first saw Poltergeist when we were all
Yep.
very young. And yeah, I love how they did that. And the VHS element, I mean, it's just kind of something that's in the zeitgeist now eternally. If you find an old dusty tape, it's probably going to be terrifying, and that's just something
Right.
that they use. But I mean, again, we're looking at, what they had to work with budget wise, and how to stretch what they had over 4 years to make it work. It's I'm happy with the elements that they were able to use for the film, and I really congratulate the director on, animal handling, because he didn't hire a wrangler that's going to come in and have like a dog that's trained to do all this stuff. And I love that constant explanation. Remember, the dog doesn't know it's in a movie. The dog
Right.
has no idea it's in a movie. The dog's just running around being a dog. So, nothing's really forced. They may try to set up a shot or something like that, but I think he even said, he goes, yeah, we would film for 20 minutes at a time, and that's all the shooting we did for the day. Like that was it, because the
Well,
dog just can't handle it.
well, and all he said, like he showed a scene that they did, and it's a very short scene to get its
Mm.
reaction. He's like, and that was a full day's shoot,
A full day
right? It
for
was
like
so it's not. I don't even think it was a minute of screen
something,
time,
yeah,
right?
something crazy like that. It's like, oh my God, how meticulous and like time
Right.
consuming this was. But I mean, hats off for, a labor of love, because that kind of project, obviously, it's going to take up so much time. And
Yeah.
much like a Mad God that took what, 20 years to make. I
Yeah.
mean,
Or Seder. I was thinking of Seder too.
exactly. Yeah, great.
You know,
Another great film that if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. Did we cover that on the show?
I
Believe
don't
we did an
remember,
episode.
but I've
I feel
been
like we
wanting to
did.
rewatch that recently.
Right?
I need
No,
to
it's a
pick that
great
up.
flick. Yeah, it's available on Blu-ray too. I do need to
Yeah.
add it to my collection physically. But yeah, back to this one. Again, there's really not much more you can spoil about the film. It's, a supernatural happening involving, a man who's dying, and you kind of don't know whether or not it's obviously something malevolent, but you don't know where it's coming from. Is it a zombie? Is it a specter? Is it a something from the spirit world? I mean, you don't really know, and I guess that's left up,
Yeah.
intentionally to interpretation, which is fine. Um, and again, there's a couple moments throughout the film that I don't want to say fumbled, but again, I'm looking at the caliber of director and whatnot. I don't even know if the guy's done another feature length film or anything like that. Is this his first feature?
I will tell you in 1 second. I believe it is,
Sure.
but let me double check that. 'Cause I figured I would know him. Let's see. This is his first feature length.
So I mean, and it's not to say that he's a bad director or anything like that. I will say this about him though. I'm looking forward to seeing him improve on future endeavors. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think he's done a great thing here, something very innovative, and you know, don't stick to a shtick. I would recommend doing other things, as well. But as far as like a introduction and foot in the door, I think the director did a fantastic job. And again, yeah, for folks out there who are interested in this, I think you should go see it. It's not going to
Yeah.
be one of those ones where it's blood curdling and terrifying, but I feel like the character engagement in it is strong, the acting is strong, settings, lights, all around, it's a good job. And here's the thing, kind of like people that make their first album and it's fantastic because you've had it written for years, and they go back in and do a second album and it sucks. I feel like he knows what he's doing, and I feel like the 4 years that he took to make this film, I think the skills were very well honed. And I think with a bigger budget and more quote unquote toys to play with, that
Yeah.
he's going to be able to make something very, very fantastic. So I'm looking out for whatever this guy has on the horizon. Definitely solid recommend for me.
You know how I know you're right about that? The one thing that I keep going back to in my head, when you see the making of vignette and you see that he just shot it with a camera at home, and like it was, he had a very, very small crew, but like you see at one point, there's like whatever the thing is that makes it look like it's raining, like it's like a modified
Spigot.
hose,
It's
whatever.
just a spigot. Yeah.
But this movie, the end result looks so fucking good. I never would have guessed it was that bare bones of a crew. And the thing is, I think not only did he take his time and he shot it well and he was meticulous, he knew he either knew how to do post really well or he went to the right people because it does not look like whatever it cost, it looks like it costs double at least. It's a
I'm curious if
very slick
Fessenden had
flick.
anything to do with it.
Probably. Although I didn't see him listed as executive producer. Um, I could be wrong about that. But that doesn't mean that, having him involved didn't, mean that um, they had access to some of, his connections. But man, it looks really, really good. Like it doesn't
Absolutely.
look. And you know what this movie reminded me of? I kept going back to. It reminds me a little bit of that movie that you really. I liked it as well, but you really championed it, Daddy's Head.
Yeah, definitely.
This
Yeah,
is a
I
better
concur.
movie, but like there's some similarities there, and man,
Again,
I
that
don't know.
isolation plays a really big part.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
again, the whole mound in the woods or what have you,
yep.
entryway to whatever. Yeah, that's another one that I really, really dug. Yeah, this movie, it's outstanding. And
It is. I
I'm
agree.
curious to see how much money it pulls in by the end of the weekend, because a lot of folks that aren't even horror fans have come up to me, "Hey, have you seen this movie?" And this is prior to me even seeing the trailer, because again, like you said, it had garnered so much attention. I had a bunch of squares coming at me like, "Hey, do you know anything about this movie?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I read about it a while back, but I didn't know there was a trailer available yet." So a lot of folks have come up to me and asked me if I knew anything about the flick. I go, "You know what? Because it's kind of such a thin idea, I didn't want to like I didn't want to watch the trailer. I didn't want to
Same.
really look into it any more than I need to, because I knew it was going to be something small and special." And
Right.
it's just a. I don't have enough good things to say about it. And again, as a first film, it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it is so solid in its execution that it's
Yeah,
definitely worth watching for
agreed.
anybody that's into independent filmmaking or shit just needs an idea as to how to do this.
Yeah.
So, and when Fessenden showed up on screen, I smiled ear to ear. I was like, "Is
Oh,
that motherfucker?" And I was
yeah.
like,
I
"That's so
mean,
awesome."
again, the minute I see him, I'm like, you're already in my good book for putting him in your movie.
Exactly. I was
You
like,
know, it's
"Okay, this
like,
guy's gonna put his stamp on it. Like this means something." You know what I mean?
yeah,
So definitely.
agreed, agreed. And even if you just love dogs, because I'll tell you what, man. Oh, I'm not even like a dog. I'm a cat person. I got nothing against dogs, but I have cats and I love cats. But like, I was like, man, it,
I love this
you,
dog.
I love this dog. I just
I will def-
everybody you're just gonna love this dog, and
I will defend this dog to the death.
you go through this range of emotions with the dog, and the dog there's no like animal cruelty or anything like that. I mean, the
No,
dog
no.
has emotional hurdles that get thrown at it, but I just go see it. That's the longest you go see it.
Definitely worth your time. And like I said, this is probably going to be a limited thing. I don't see this movie staying longer than this week. We just had Tron drop this last weekend, so that's eating up a lot of theaters. Um, and again, I had three different screenings per day, but like Sean said, this thing's probably going to bounce to Shutter within the next week or so. So either way, you're going to have a chance to see it very soon. But I think just for the theatrical experience
Yeah,
alone, it's a very special viewing. It really is. And yeah, go watch it if you
go
can.
watch it.
Go watch
Agreed.
it theatrically. Definitely.
That's good, boy. This is the Horror Vision. I'm Sean.
I am still the dog scooting his ass around because he probably has worms in his ass.
Ah.
Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no sleep work along with several never-before published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.